Alright guys, back again with another diary vlog. It's the 4th of April. The time is almost 20 to 7 in the morning in York in the UK. It's crazy, I haven't seen the sunshine for I've had my curtains open and stuff and looking out for the sunshine, but it's just been grey the last fucking however long. Can't even explain why, it's just been the craziest thing ever. Just grey days. Even though it's April, 4th of April, in the morning, looking pretty good, looking pretty lean. Quick muscle check. Yeah, coming on, man. You can tell my weightlifting's kicking in, doing weights every day, 10 kilo weight. Got the high protein diet, eating small amounts, keeping the metabolism going over. Got some vitamins. I take a multivitamin, I take a vitamin C, 1000 milligram. I take an omega-369, and I take a green tea antioxidant removal fat loss tablet as well. So they're my supplements at the moment. I was on a phase of going through all the bodybuilding supplements, weightlifting supplements like beta alanine and creatine, but I find I can just stay lean, develop the muscle, pretty much without the supplements to go with the bodybuilding, because it just ends up combined with my vitamins, you just end up taking a shitload of tablets, which kind of pisses you off after a while. So yeah, just let me have a swig of my ice cold Stella Artois. My new go-to, man, I'll tell you about it. Straight from the fridge, Stella Artois. Oh, it's beautiful, nice and refreshing. It's got some body to it, It's not like in one of these cheap lagers, which is like 3% with no body. This is like 5% or 4.8, and it's got some real substance to it, Brewed in the UK, I think, but originally from Belgium. So yeah, as always, guys, it's good to have you back if you're watching this. Just made some notes about what to cover in this diary vlog. The theme of my kind of life at the moment is my back pain. I'm a wheelchair user, so I've got a pressure sore on my sacrum, and the pain of it is like I can't feel because I'm paralyzed, but I can feel like the residual pain kind of affects the small of my back and my back in general. So I'm on these painkillers at the moment, which are like cocodamol. Asked the doctor for that, and she or he gave me 100 cocodamol tablets. So they weren't exactly stingy when they were giving out the painkiller tablets. So I'm grateful for that. And yeah, the way it kind of goes is that normally getting in my wheelchair is quite painful. Just like an overall feeling of oh my god, my back is killing me. Not like a direct pain, but just a general kind of feeling that affects the whole movement in the chair and stuff. So I'll take my painkillers, and I actually quite like laying on the bed and messing around on the bed. I've got a laptop and a TV and a mobile phone and headphones and books, and I've got all my drinks and stuff around me. So and food and whatever. So yeah, I mean the painkillers on the bed, you can kind of relax and take your mind off the pain. So that's pretty cool. In the chair, I mean, I got into my chair maybe an hour and a half ago, around about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I haven't taken my painkillers yet, but thankfully the pain's not too bad. What I'll probably do is after I've recorded this video is take 2 painkillers and my antibiotic and chill out on the bed for a while, maybe read some books, listen to some music, read the Bible, listen to the Bible on audio, listen to some audio books, that kind of thing. So yeah, being on the bed is a great relief to my back and stuff, so that's pretty cool. I think I mentioned in one of my earlier diary vlogs that I'm reading 2 books at the moment. I've got loads of books which I'm looking forward to reading, but the ones I'm reading at the moment are a Hulk Hogan book. I'm a great wrestling fan, old school wrestling, like 90s and stuff. When it was WWF and 2000s, don't watch it anymore. But I mean, Hulk Hogan was a big hero of mine. I was too young to be around for his '80s stuff when he was a big hero babyface. So I got into him more like in his '90s, like NWO, kind of 2000 when he rejoined the WWE, and or WWF as it was at the time. But I'm reading a book by him which is really really cool, and it's keeping me going. And I'm also reading the Howard Marks book, Mr. Nice, about the Welsh drug smuggler, and it's really cool because he's a funny guy and he writes it really well. And I think he died in 2016. I did some research and found that out, so that's a shame. But as far as the book goes, Hulk Hogan and Howard Marks are keeping me going. Really starting to get into the meat of the books. That's really cool. On the subject of books, there's audiobooks. So I mean, I'm subscribed to Audible, which I think is an Amazon company, and it's a really good idea, for Amazon to have an audiobook outlet. So I'm subscribed monthly, and I can just use my credits to get whatever books I want. I try and be quite selective. The last one I got was an Arnold Schwarzenegger non-fiction book, and it's like a motivational kind of thing. And I don't spend a massive amount of time listening to audiobooks, but what I do is dip in and out of them. So I'll probably spend more time reading the physical books of the physical paperbacks of Hulk Hogan and Howard Marks. But then when I go on Audible, I'll just like look at my what they call your library, and you can kind of like zip through and dip in and out of all the different books that you've put in your digital library. So I've got the last ones. Geez, off the top of my head, what have I got? I've got a lot of Lord of the Rings type stuff. So I'm listening to the Silmarillion. At the moment, it's very poetic and it's really, really cool the way it's written. Tolkien was just like a genius, his vision of what he was writing about is just really, really relaxing and very artistic, and I really appreciate that. I've got, like I said, the Arnold Schwarzenegger book, which I think is cool. I've got the one I kind of go to a lot is The Diary of Saint Faustina. I've read it before in paperback, but I'm going through it in audio about the Saint Faustina, who was canonized in I think the year 2000, but she lived in like the 1930s and 20s and stuff. But she wrote the diary in the 30s, and she had visions of Jesus, and she's a beautiful soul, and she's always resonated with me a lot in terms of like her devotion to Christ and her Christian faith, which I can relate to a lot. She's really, if you're a Christian, it's really, really connectable. If that's a word, connectable. You can really connect to it and relate to it a lot. And the way it's written from her perspective is like a beautiful soul as a nun, as she was in a convent. It's just really, really cool. So I listen to that quite a bit as well. I'm also listening to the Bible on audio. I've just finished the book of Ecclesiastes, which I've read numerous times, and I always go back to, because it's such a breath of fresh air. It's so wise, and they say King Solomon wrote Ecclesiastes, but it's the women's book. It's the women's version of the audio Bible I'm reading, so it's not actually a draconian male laying down the law, as it were. It's like these happy women's voices that read you the Bible. So it's kind of cool. I've been starting to. I mean, one of the weak points of my Christian faith in terms of Bible study has always been Saint Paul. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, and I've always been lacking in my understanding as to how to really get into the books of Acts and Romans and Thessalonians and Colossians and what have you, Corinthians. I've always been more like kind of leaning towards the Old Testament or the Gospels themselves. I've always found Paul a bit stodgy. I like books in the Bible which are kind of quite short and sweet that you can kind of, lay claim to like having, you absorb them better because they're shorter. Whereas Paul has a tendency to like have these really long chapters and stuff. But recently, when I've been in bed, like I say, when I've been increasing my time in bed, but still doing things, I'll have my really cool headphones on, good quality headphones, and just allowing the books of Paul to just take me away, on audio. So I've been listening to the Acts of the Apostles, and it's been really enlightening. I don't find them as deeply connecting as like Ecclesiastes in terms of wisdom, but I think it's incumbent upon me as a Christian to brush up on my Paul, seeing as though he was such a massive figure in terms of creating the Bible and stuff like that. So I'm also reading the book of Job, which is kind of second to Ecclesiastes in my esteem as far as like wisdom and insight goes and relatability. The Psalms are up there as well. Like I'll go through phases in my life where the Psalms really kind of I relate to because they're like they cry out in pain to God. David wrote most of the Psalms, and it'll often be found, saying, "God, God, help me, save me from my enemies, and I'm sick." And I can relate, given my physicality and the circumstances and the problems I've got medically with my body, I can relate to a lot of what David was saying. And but there are times which is kind of crazy because like I've kind of dealt with like the terms of sin in my life, and I've kind of outgrown like lust or anything like that. I'm 37 now. I turned 37 at the end of January, and it's now the beginning of April. And I've finally got to the point where it's like I don't have any sinful feelings towards women, like lust or anything like that. It was the only thing I ever struggled with growing up as a young man was my attraction to like sexual females who were like promiscuous and stuff. And like when I'd see, like in movies or TV shows, I'd always get like my heart would start racing or whatever. I get butterflies when I saw like, like naked women in a TV show. But it's all kind of gone. I've grown out of it. I've grown beyond lust. It seems I'm really at the end of like that adolescent, fear of like kind of like sinning in that way. And so I've kind of grown beyond all of that. And it's kind of crazy because when I read the Psalms or listen to the Psalms, it's like, like I do really appreciate their kind of beauty. And there are a lot of them. There are 150 Psalms, I think. And I think like I'm reading them again. I'm only on like Psalm 11 or 12. But sometimes I get this like internal conflict in my brain or my heart, where it's like, because the Psalms really question your ethics. It's like, are you a sinner? And like only the righteous will be saved and stuff. So there are times when I read the Psalms and it's like, yeah, I'm righteous, I'm great. And then there are times like the other day, I was listening to a Psalm and I was thinking, man, like this is really questioning my ethics. Like I don't like the feeling of being questioned, about my spiritual kind of righteousness and stuff. So they are quite conflicting to read or listen to sometimes, the Psalms, I find. Just let me have a quick toke on my cigarette, guys. Take a very short break from this ramble. I'll just wet my whistle with some more Stella. Got to blow my nose, man. I know it's like gross on the video, but yeah, I'm really pleased with like my physical state of health and well-being. So yeah, it's really cool. I've been listening to music as well. Like Spotify's always been there for me. I've got my playlists that I've made on Spotify, and when I'm playing Football Manager, I'll sometimes listen to music that are made like in playlists. at the same time as playing the game, which is really cool. I also really like the Jim Ross podcast, Grilling JR. Jim Ross, during the Attitude Era in WWF, when it was really popular, was like the voice of wrestling. And he's got a podcast now, which is really cool, which you can listen to, called Grilling JR. I don't really like the host, Conrad Thompson. He kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, gets on my tits, but JR himself, is pretty cool to listen to. And as far as like listening to music and stuff, I'll be on the bed and I'll kind of listen to like Aaron Lewis in particular. He used to be the singer of Stained, and he's in like country music now and stuff. So yeah, like his style has kind of changed from Stained. If you really want to relax and like get taken away by beautiful music and a heartfelt soul, then Aaron Lewis has like the great tunes that I relate to, because he was in Stained, so he's always kind of been with me, like when I was growing up and stuff in a rock band. But now he's doing his country stuff, and it's just great just to kind of relax to. And before I go to bed, I'll listen to a little bit of Aaron Lewis. As far as like Aaron Lewis goes, I'm going to make a video about how much I appreciate both him, his music, and what he did in Stained. So look out for that video. As far as like my viewing habits, like I've just got done watching Game of Thrones season 1. Finished it this morning, where Daenerys, like it's the end of. It's really tastefully done, actually. I mean, personally, I think Game of Thrones had a tendency to like kill its best characters. Like they killed Ned Stark, when he was. They could have just veered away from that. I mean, it might have been the way it was in the book, but for the purposes of keeping Sean Bean on the cast and stuff, they could have just changed it slightly. But they were like religiously stuck to the way the book was. But yeah, they killed Khal Drogo, another great character. And these are characters which could have carried the seasons. And we lost. They got replaced by some real fucking awful characters that we had to kind of stick with for the future seasons. But I've just finished season 1 of Game of Thrones, so it's really cool. Playing Football Manager, like I say, I'm Leon. I've started again with Leon, so I've got a fresh start. What I find is that for some reason I played Football Manager for like 9 or 10 years, this version, the 2010 version, and I never ran out of money. But in the disc, or the version I've got at the moment, I don't know what it is, but the money just isn't there. And like I find what I have to do is inject like £1 billion into the game by cheating through the data editor at the start of the game, just to make sure that I don't go into debt without even buying anyone. You're paying money to like shareholders and stuff every season, and the version I've got just gets you into debt automatically, even if you don't buy anyone. So I've started again, because the one I was on before, I had like started the game with like £850 million, and by the time I looked at my finances, I was down to like 150 million. So yeah, I've started again, and this time I'm going to be even more prudent about not buying anyone to really kind of maintain the longevity of the game before it goes into debt, which I don't know what's going on with that, but it's just crazy. But I've got the usual suspects like Yanis Taffer and Miralem Pjanic. Who else have I got? I've got David Silva this time, which is pretty cool. Jesus Navas, is on the right wing. He's doing well. Luka Modric, Sandro is the stalwart, a defensive midfield. That's pretty cool. I spoke to Alex, my best friend, for about half an hour the other day. He's doing really well, in the sense that, like, nothing bad's happening. And he makes me feel like $1 million when I talk to him. He's the kind of guy who really knows me for who I am. He's like the only guy I can talk to in this way, and I've got other friends and family that I talk to, but it's just not the same. Alex kind of shines a light onto my heart, and when I talk to him, I just laugh the entire time. He just cracks me up so much, and he's such a great guy. And he's the singer of my band, but that's kind of on the back burner for various reasons, because he's struggling to find time to record, and he doesn't want to disrupt the neighbours and stuff like that. So, but as a guy, he's just amazing, and we'll always have the music from 2022 with Armour of the Vice, the album Eternal Return. His vocals will always be on there. Even if I've recorded 8 tracks so far for this 2024 album, Carnal Denial, and they're all instrumental so far, but the standard's pretty high, so it's pretty cool. You can keep expecting me to record new music. I'll probably have, because I've got like 50 riff ideas, I'll probably have like 20 tracks by the time it's all said and done. And, as far as like the quality, it's like really catchy. I find a lot of the metal bands I listen to at the moment, it's just bewildering, like how far they've come from the simple kind of catch and groove and, the basic beats which make metal what it is, or hardcore. And it's all just like stupidly technical guitar. And I don't understand why like bands have gone so far away from like just the basis of like what my band's about, which is, okay, we've got a good riff, now let's make a catchy drum beat to go with it. It couldn't be simpler to make catchy music that's heavy, which is what my band is. And I always strive to do that. And it's really, really simple for me because I just play what comes naturally to my ear. And like all these bands now, the music is just like crap because like the guitar is just so overblown in its complexity. There's no heartfelt tonality anymore. It's all like off-key fucking random shit, and the singing is all like fucking hopeless. There's no real soul in the singing anymore. It's so, musically, we're past our best days, I think, as a society, which is a bit disappointing. But if you want to go back in history to like the year 2000 or the late 90s or the early 2000s, you'll find the best stuff. With all these bands which are still lingering around now, all the new stuff's crap, and they're all living off the heights that they were like fucking 20 years ago. It's just like the way it is. So in closing, I'll leave you with some of my favourite things at the moment. Cold Stella Artois right out of the fridge, refreshing, preferably after a workout or when I'm on the bed. I'm watching 24 as well, which is really cool. The first season, there's loads of material. They did like 9 seasons of 24, but I'm watching season 1, so it's really cool. Kiwi fruit, again, straight out of the fridge. 1 or 2 kiwis keeps the doctor away, and it's beautiful and refreshing. It's very sour. I eat the skin on the kiwi, so I get the full goodness, but also actually tastes pretty cool. My main meal is a wrap. I have 2 wraps. I tend to like not eat a big meal during the day and then wake up at like 3 in the morning and cook myself 2 wraps. Just because during the day when I'm doing stuff, I don't like to have like a lot of food in my stomach because it kind of weighs me down. So I kind of wait until like the middle of the night before I'll eat like a meal, like 2 wraps with chicken breasts and salsa and sliced red onion and these little Italian tomatoes with the chicken breasts. So yeah, just that's been a staple of high protein. Pretty cool. And of course tea. I really like my hot cups of tea with a little bit of milk, very strong with 3 sweeteners. And very refreshing and really, really cool. So on that note, guys, I'll leave you to it. Peace out. Another diary vlog. Look out for more videos. I think the next one, like I say, will be the Aaron Lewis Stained appreciation video. But I'm quite pleased with how the channel's all coming together. All right, one love. Take care. See you later.